Hey everyone, Brian Zayn here to talk about SummerSlam 2016, the night of slaps, the night of finisher kickouts, the night of, hey, a brand new set that has nothing to do with WrestleMania. It's a crazy LED ring post. What a time to be alive in 2016. Let's see how the night went down. Pre-show match number 1, the 12-man tag team matches, the Usos, the Hype Bros, and American Alpha versus Breezeango, the Ascension, and the Vaudevillains. With the faces going over, not much to say about this match. I will say it's been a few weeks now. We get the idea, SmackDown. You have these tag teams. These are your teams that are available to you. American Alpha is clearly the superior one, the most over one of all 6 of these teams. Let's do something else with them now. Okay, the time is up. Pre-show match number 2, the Dudley Boyz taking on the hastily thrown together tag team of Neville and Sami Zayn. Hard to believe it was a month ago that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens tore the house down at Battleground, Match of the Year candidate. Now he's an afterthought at SummerSlam. Has nothing to do. He's barely thrown in at the last minute with this pre-show match. Pretty disappointing. The match itself was okay. Neville and Sami Zayn going over thanks in part to the miscommunication by the Dudleys, which they finally started to address on commentary. The last couple of weeks, that's how the Dudleys have been losing their matches, and so now they're turning into a storyline. It could lead to an eventual split from the team. I think back in 2002 when the draft first happened and they split then, I don't think the team was ready yet. I don't think we were all ready for a Dudley Boyz breakup. But now I feel that it would actually be good for the team for them to break up again. I think if Bubba Ray could capture even something close to what he had at his singles run at TNA a few years ago, I think that'd be amazing. Pre-show match number 3, a surprising move from the main card as Cesaro and Sheamus had the first of their best-of-7 series moved from the main show to the pre-show, which is not a huge deal, I think, in the grand scheme of things. They had to fill out the pre-show somehow. This match was very good, like we can expect from these two. But my fear is, my big question with this best-of-7 series is, can these two keep changing it up every match and make each match seem different and seem to tell a better story each time? I think the pressure is really huge for a best-of-7 when they're going to be wrestling each other non-stop for the next month or so, and they've already had 2 matches before that. So what can they really do to make it more interesting? They've got to build to, it's what's probably going to be a full series, a full 7-match series, which I predict Cesaro to win ultimately. Sheamus won, of course, on this night. So how are they going to keep things fresh and interesting for the next 7 weeks? Will they have occasional really quick unexpected victories, like a roll up 30 seconds into the match? Will they have a disqualification finish or something like that? How are they going to keep things interesting? Will they take breaks? Will it be 7 consecutive weeks? Will it be, will there be breaks in between? Who knows? But that's the big question mark right now with this series. Official opening contest, Enzo and Cass taking on Jeri-KO. Once again, another fine, stellar opening promo from Enzo and Cass, invoking Frank Sinatra. Big Cass singing a few bars. Who would have thought that he could sing? Anyway, the match itself was good. Jeri-KO were very good. Kevin Owens doing the Enzo dance, better than Enzo. That was amazing. That was brilliant. Again, the match was okay. Jeri-KO winning was a surprise to me. I didn't expect that to happen. The pop-up code breaker, in theory, is a very cool move, but when they did it tonight, it was very scary. I think a move, when it's done correctly, if everyone's in the right spot and the person taking the move gets the right amount of height, then it can be a very good move. But tonight, I think Jeri-KO wasn't quite in the right place. He wasn't close enough to Enzo, and Enzo didn't get quite enough height. So Jeri-KO pretty much had to slide into position, and what happened was this awkward knee to the face that didn't look very pretty at all. Kind of scary looking, but that's how Jeri-KO won the match. So I think I'd like to see them do that move more often. It was a great place to debut it under the bright lights of SummerSlam. So I think it'd be a great place, a great thing to keep doing, but it has to be done correctly. Otherwise, it just looks scary like it did tonight. Women's Championship match as Sasha Banks defends the championship against Charlotte. For as good a match as this was in the grand scheme of things, it was ultimately overshadowed by 2 very scary, very sloppy-looking spots in which Sasha Banks nearly broke her neck. The first one was when Charlotte had Sasha in that backbreaker position, that side slam, and dropped her down the corner, and she landed on her head in a really disgusting way. And then a few minutes later, she countered out of the razor's edge from the top rope into a Hurricane Rana, and you could see Sasha catch herself, put her hands up to catch herself, but her head still landed like this on the mat, and it looked really scary. It's one of those things where you look at Sasha's wrestling style, and you think, like, maybe she developed this high-risk style a la Daniel Bryan as a way to get over, to overcome the fact that she's not very large. She's a very small woman. So the fact that she's doing this crazy stuff is kind of her way of compensating for it. But I don't think she has to do that, especially now that she has this established character and gimmick and other stuff she does in the ring that gets her over just as well. She doesn't have to kill herself anymore. I really don't want, I don't want her to turn into another Daniel Bryan, where she has to retire at an early age due to her very hard-hitting style. And the schedule that she works in WWE really speeds that process up. It breaks the body down so much faster than if you're working in the indie scene, in my opinion. So I wish that Sasha would just slow things down and not try and kill herself every night. That'd be great. The match itself, other than those big sloppy moments, those two main things, it was an overall very good match, very strong. And then the shocking finish. I was surprised by the finish, actually, with Charlotte countering, rolling through with a bank statement, and pinning her. Very Flairian, very befitting finish for someone in the Flair lineage. But my one thing that I just could not stand afterward, and I've been talked about this before in my reviews, is that Charlotte cannot sell for shit. When she got out of the ring, she didn't sell her back at all. She had the knees in the back in the corner, and she bent backwards. And then she was in the bank statements, 2 different times, just torqued really far back. And then when she wins, she's just walking normal, not selling the back or anything. Look, so Charlotte, your dad could sell ice to an Eskimo. How have you not learned how to sell pain, how to sell submissions? This has been a problem pretty much her entire time, at least in the main roster. I forget how she was on NXT, but I can't imagine she was any better then. So why is she not selling now? It's ridiculous. One of the better moments of the show was, surprisingly, a backstage segment. It had nothing to do with in-ring action at all. It was the semi-reunion of the Bullet Club members. You had AJ Styles, Anderson, and Gallows, and Finn Balor showed up. They were trying to do a too sweet thing, and Balor walks away to this big audible "ah" from the audience. I thought that was a really fun moment. But yeah, great segment. Intercontinental title match, The Miz defending against the Jackrabat, Apollo Crews, and holy hell, I hope that name does not stick, because it is awful. The match itself, nothing to write home about, not a very stupendous match, not a lot of heat to this match. Like I said in my prediction video, there was barely any build to this thing, not a lot of conflict between the two, so this match was pretty meh, Miz retains, what are you going to do? John Cena versus AJ Styles, a terrific match. Dare I say the match of the night, if not one of the top 2. It was a great match. Much better, in my opinion, than their match at Money in the Bank, which was also a very good match. But this one was ultimately more satisfying to watch. 1, because there was a clean finish, and 2, because, there's so much more heat and drama behind it now. They had 2 more months to build on it. So to me, it was just a much more dramatic, much more rewarding match to watch. AJ Styles going over was a huge deal, in my opinion. It's like when, we've been talking about this before. The rule of Cena is he eventually always wins his rivalries. And the people who he fights against, even though they look great in the matches themselves, ultimately get sent back down the card. But this is very interesting. Like I said, Cena very rarely loses rivalries. AJ Styles appears to have won the rivalry, which is a huge deal. You consider where he was just earlier this year. I think a lot of people were ready to write him off and ready to say, oh, he's going to be jobbed out because he lost to Roman Reigns 2 months in a row. And so they thought, oh, he's going to be fed to Cena and the cycle will continue and he'll just be another job guy. But really, what I'm seeing so far is the opposite of that. I mean, he's being treated, short of winning the title, he's being treated just about as well as one could hope for a man of AJ Styles' stature. Again, he beats Cena clean this time around, which very rarely has ever happened, and now he's going to move on. Who knows what he's going to do? Maybe he's going to move into the title picture on SmackDown. John Cena removing the Never Give Up armband and leaving it in the ring. Is this symbolic, King? Tag titles on the line as the New Day with Jon Stewart in their corner taking on Anderson and Gallows, the Good Doctors. Jon Stewart being involved in this match I think is more his speed instead of the high-profile match he was involved with the Cena Rollins thing the year before. I think this is more his speed. That being said, him awkwardly interfering is something that just keeps happening year after year, it seems, him getting in there. His whole shtick, the whole thing he did in the Daily Show, that works in that context, not so much in WWE's context, because when he does it in a WWE ring, it just kind of lifts the veil on the whole thing. The fact that he didn't really have a sense of urgency or fright or fear when he was about to get his crotch rammed into the ring post, it seemed like he was like, it just kind of lifts the veil. Oh, hey, it's all fake, everyone. Big E coming down, makes a save after being off TV for a few weeks. He causes the New Day to get disqualified because he beats up Anderson and Gallows. So the New Day keep the titles. They lose the match, but they hold on to the belts, which, again, I'm proven wrong once again. Months and months I've been trying to say the New Day are going to lose the titles, but once again I'm proven wrong. Those dastardly New Day people with their merchandise to sell. And so yeah, then at the end Big E and Jon Stewart have a dance off, and if the show ended at that point, the fans would have been sent home happy, but we had a long way to go. WWE title match, Dean Ambrose defending against Mr. Ziggles, Dolph Ziggler. I've said it before and I'll say it again. A few weeks ago, I had no interest in this matchup. When I saw Dolph Ziggler win the #1 contendership, I thought it was a foregone conclusion as to who was going to win. But, like I've said, the last few weeks have really drummed up my interest in it. I was genuinely interested to see. I thought, if only for a minute, I thought Dolph Ziggler could have possibly pulled off the upset and won the championship. Now, ultimately, he didn't. The finish was Dean Ambrose blocking the top rope facebuster, giving Ziggler the dirty deeds, doing the Mutombo finger wag, and then pinning him. So that was very interesting. The match itself, it was okay. I think maybe if they do a rematch the next month, it can be a lot better with more heat between the two, with more time given. I think this could be a very good match. This match, not one of my favorites of the night, but it was definitely up there. 6-women tag team match, Becky Lynch, Naomi, and Carmella going against Alexa Bliss, Natalya, and not Eva Marie. I hoped and prayed as the entrances were happening, I hope they do an Eva Marie entrance and they do some way to write her off in the wake of her suspension, and that's what happened, and it was awesome. I love the fact they did that. And then, of course, her replacement was Nikki Bella, who just recently was cleared to return to wrestle, so that was the big rumor that she was going to take the place of Eva Marie. And of course, that happened. It's like the last 2 months in a row now, a mystery or replacement partner is very obvious for the women's matches. Last month it was Bayley, this month is Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella came out to a huge babyface pop despite the fact that she was on the heel team and did very heelish things. But really with the Bellas, your traditional face and heel archetypes, your alignments, they mean nothing to the Bellas. They have a reality show to push. But ultimately, Nikki wins the match for her team with the rack attack. She looks in the camera and says, "I'm back," drops the rack attack, and then the heels win the day. Seth Rollins and Finn Balor to determine who would become the first ever Universal Championship. But first, let's talk about that belt. I will say this, in the weeks leading up to SummerSlam, I saw a lot of images online, these leaked images of what the belt was purported to look like. And first of all, I didn't believe any of them. And second of all, I wasn't really in love with any of them. But ultimately, I would have taken any of those designs over what we got, what the company gave us. This is lazy, take off the black leather strap, cut up Shinsuke Nakamura's pants and put the result on the back instead, and there you have the Universal Championship. To me, it's just so lazy. It's like, I'm of a generation, and I think the last 20 years, wrestling fans have come to expect that every wrestling championship belt looks different. No two belts are the same. But now 3 of your top belts are all similar looking. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to take Dean Ambrose's title and put a blue strap on it? That to me is just so lazy. It's so, creation mode on 2K16. The people with the least amount of creative ability, just I'm going to change the color of the strap, and that's it. I'm not a fan of this design at all. But let's not have the controversy over the belt design take away from what was ultimately a very awesome athletic contest between Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. Very good match overall, and I'm surprised that Balor won, honestly. He won clean. The fact that Seth Rollins did not win was a shock to me. I think Finn Balor winning, though, it's definitely indicative of the whole new era thing. They're really pushing this new era agenda, and having Balor be the first Universal Champion, the first of this new belt, I think speaks volumes for how they want to perceive him in the company and how he's meant to be perceived. I think Seth Rollins, his time's not done yet. I mean, he's lost a couple of high-profile matches lately, but he's on. I think he's still going to be in that picture for sure. But if Finn Balor won the title, being the first Universal Championship, it's a big deal. He debuted. It's his first pay-per-view match. He wins the equivalent of a world title. Huge deal if you're Finn Balor and a fan of Finn Balor. So that was pretty cool. U.S. Championship match, Rusev defending against Roman Reigns. All week I was racking my brain thinking, how are they possibly going to top what they did the previous week on Raw, that half-hour match that actually told a really good story and was actually a lot of fun to watch. How are they going to top that stuff? Turns out they didn't have to. They just had a big old schmoz on the outside of the ring, and it was a no contest. Well, I'm glad that weight was taken off their shoulders. They didn't have to bother replicating that one. Main event time, Brock Lesnar taking on Randy Orton, as Mauro Ranallo would like to say. One of the few things I predicted correctly in my predictions video. Not the winner of this match. God, no, I was dead wrong. No, I'm talking about the fact that this match was the main event. I think a lot of people were tweeting at me tonight saying, Brian, doesn't this devalue the belts, the fact that this match goes on last? No, it doesn't. The belts, their value is perfectly fine. This match makes sense as a main event because it's a marquee talent like Lesnar. It's a big name of the company like Orton. They're going after, it's their first pay-per-view match ever. And they've been in the company, for Lesnar on and off, but they've been affiliated with the company for so long. The fact that it's taken this long for them to fight on pay-per-view is amazing, when they've exercised just about every other match option out there. So yeah, I think it was worthy of being a main event on paper. Now the match itself pretty boring, pretty one-dimensional, not a whole lot of fun to watch. You know, it's like, I think Lesnar, his style has been very exposed. I think they want people to boo Lesnar, and they're going to keep pounding this whole one-dimensional, all he does is some knees and suplexes. Not a very fun guy to watch, you know. I wish the match were a little more give and take. I wish it weren't 90 Lesnar, 10 Orton. I wish it were like, you know, 70, 65 Lesnar, and then, you know, 30, 35 Orton. Something a little more than that. Orton got like 2 RKOs in, and that was it. I swear it was the easiest payday he ever got, except for the fact that he got bled hard way by Lesnar with the elbow at the end. Lots of blood from that. Good Lord, that was a lot of blood. For a match that got as much hype as it did, the fact that it ended in this referee stoppage, you know, it's like, hey, you know, Lesnar got the finish he wanted that he didn't get at UFC 200, so let's get that out of the way. But the fact that this pay-per-view ended on such a down note with this, like, oh, referee stoppage due to blood, like, I think, you know, Taker and Lesnar from last SummerSlam, even though it ended in controversy, at least it was a finish. At least it was an ending. It wasn't this kind of like half-hearted thing where the referee had to get involved and stuff. And then Shane McMahon coming in at the end and then getting F5 by Lesnar. We didn't see an F5 into an RKO. We didn't see Goldberg running in and stopping anything. We didn't see anything that fans wanted to see. You know, we just saw Lesnar making Orton bleed and knocking them silly. And then we saw Shane McMahon get an F5, and that's the end of the show. Like, nah, that's SummerSlam 2016, everyone. So 13 matches in all, 5.5 hours of action if you include the pre-show. This was just a slog to get through, folks. This was a rough one to get through. It's like, for a show as long as it is, it better be action-packed, and brother, it was not. You know, considering how good Battleground was the month before, like the best Battleground of all the Battlegrounds, considering how, you know, I haven't watched all of NXT TakeOver from the night before. I saw the last 2 matches, and I saw Bobby Roode's entrance, but that alone to me was like, this is an amazing show. And from everything I've read about the rest of the show, which I will watch in the very near future, makes it seem like that show is just amazing, you know. And so then you watch SummerSlam right after. It's hard to believe that these 2 shows are run by the same company. SummerSlam, you know, had moments of brilliance. Like I said, Cena Styles was the match of the night, in my opinion. Balor and Rollins, a close second. There were a couple other cool moments here and there, but across 5.5 hours, like, very difficult to justify watching for that long and for what they gave us. So I'm going to give SummerSlam a C average for my grade for this one. Let me know what you thought about this show in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zayn, and I'll see you next time.